Welcome to the More Than Just Mowing podcast. I'm your host, Joel Cleaver, and this is the official podcast of Jim's Mowing. If you didn't know it, it's the world's largest gardening franchise with more than 2,000 franchisees in Australia, New Zealand and Canada. And on the podcast show, we interview franchisees, our franchisors who run the regions and manage the franchisees, and also Jim himself. So there's a lot of broad range of content, and we do encourage you, if you are researching more about Jim's Mowing, about what we do, go through those episodes. It will give you a great sense of who we are. So without further delay, here's today's episode.
So we've got a very special guest today on the Jim podcast and Jim's Mowing podcast, and that's Tony Theobald, and you've been with us since 1994. So I think, as you said to me prior to this, Jim reckons you're number 3 from the system. So I'm going to have to check because they might change. So I'm going to have to look. So you might be the longest serving Jim in history. So we're going to have to look and check that out for this to confirm, but it's an amazing achievement.
Thank you. That should be a gold watch, I'm sure. Fun number 1.
I worked with you for 10 years. He gave me nothing, so good luck getting the gold watch. So what we're doing as well, on behalf of the Jim's Group and Jim's Mowing, we want to present you the Silver Accor membership, which is worth around $700, which is basically two free nights to any Accor hotel in Australia and overseas, and you get a 50% of dining and all this sort of stuff. So we'll get that to you after the interview as well, and that's for you and your partner, or whoever you want to take. So that's a good benefit as well. But yeah, let's start with what you're doing prior to Jim's Mowing, Theo.
Prior, I was in banking, foreign exchange. I was in banking for quite a few years and ended up in Macquarie Bank in Sydney. And things changed, the industry changed, and they started letting a lot of people go. It was a very quick decision. You were told to get out in about an hour's time. So, but that's the way the market was back then. So after that, I started studying horticulture at Right TAFE, which is probably renowned for its horticultural courses, and I did that over about 4 years, and I've always been a keen gardener, so here I am. I decided to take on a Jim's, and I've been doing it ever since.
Can you tell people what was the training like back then? The training would have obviously be a lot different to what it is now, so where was the training and how did that come about?
The training was picking up. I bought a existing run, which was Terrigal and surrounding areas on the Central Coast, and there was no training. So it was there's your gear and go to it. Probably I shouldn't let Jim know that one, but no, I never have had any training, so it's always been on the job.
But you had the 4 years of horticulture, which is a very, very good the course as well. Yeah, very good start. So in your submission, you mentioned a couple of things about customer service. So do you want to talk to people about what's your customer service values in your business, and how have you been, to be in business for more than 10 years is a massive achievement. It's a really small percentage of people who stay in business for longer than 10 years. You've been in more than 20 whatever years it is. So how have you managed to stay in business for so long?
Well, even in the banking industry, in the very, very early days, it was always over the counter, whether you're a teller or on the inquiries desk, whatever. But you had to keep smiling, and I think the same has gone into Jim's. I'll take on any job, but I still expect to get the same feedback from the client. So if the client doesn't come across the best, well, it's going to be a short relationship. I'll put it that way. I do try to do my utmost to look after the clients and see what their needs are. Sometimes you're not even looking at, and somebody, pulls you in and, says, can you mow my lawn? You might talk about their garden, you might talk about the car in the driveway, you might talk about anything else. You've got a bit of rapport with the client. And I think that's important, going on. They find out who you are and you find out who they are and what their special needs are. I've had doctors, that don't want to get their hands dirty and don't even know what a hammer looks like, and they just want somebody to keep it, nice and tidy for the kids and the wife, and you've got to build that rapport, I suppose, is what I want to say.
And even though it's called Jim's Mowing, Tony, what services do you do in your business? Can you just describe to people all the different services over the years you've done for people?
Well, I've painted houses on the inside. I've done paving work, small garden design. I won't take on anything too huge. I need to get, backhoes in for. You've got to be a bit of a hands-on, but also know your limitations. You're not going to be a plumber or an electrician for them. Variety of jobs. I never, a lot of gurning, elderly customers, you want to make sure their pathways aren't slippery. You want to keep them as a customer for a few years. And I think I've said this before to different people, is that if you if you enjoy what you're doing around your own house, and you walk out on the weekend and say, oh, the windows need to clean, or the driveway's dirty, or there's a lot of leaves around, and we got, the rellos coming on Sunday. It's those jobs. You want to, make sure our house, not only the lawn you want to see presented, you want to see, the house presented as a whole nicely. So you've got to be probably a bit house proud, I suppose.
Now, in your time doing it for so long, how did you ever get, like, obviously, gyms, you can obviously expand your business or shrink it and all that sort of stuff. So did you ever, how big was your business at its biggest point?
Biggest point, probably running 140, 150 clients. I have sold on twice and tried to minimise the business. And at one stage, I had 2 employees. I've gone down to 1. In fact, I've gone down to none in the last few weeks, and I'm quite happy with that over the winter. And I've had employees, one for 7 years, one for 8 years, and I'm still on good terms with them all. So obviously I've been doing something right and coming across as leading them. One has his own garden business now. So I've built respect for them as well. But I've never really been one. I'm probably a gardener, not a business person. Or maybe I don't realise I'm a business person, but I do like my gardens. If I go back through history, my grandfather showed flowers at the Chelsea Flower Show in England. My father grew up in a house just after the war when he sent out to New Zealand that used to win the garden shows in Christchurch, New Zealand. And I was shortlisted a few years ago for the garden show in Garden Comp in Gosford. So,
really?
Wow. So
tell us a bit about that. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that then, Theo, because that's great to hear. Let's because I love hearing this because obviously people just think, it's the mowing guy, he just mows and that's it. No, doesn't know anything about horticulture or anything, which is not true. So let's talk about. Did you just tell us about the Gosford show and what you presented and that what went into that?
I used to, and I still do, look after a garden, and they used to win about every second year, and I maintain part of their garden. They're very hands-on themselves, but I give them a hand. And I was asked if I wanted to show my garden. So it was shown and photographed and presented well. As I said, I can garden all week for other people and come home and dig my own. So obviously there's something there. I'm an idiot. I don't know. But it presented really well, and I came in at the top 3 whole gardens, because you could do sections. You could show off a little area or the whole garden. I didn't win, but the garden that won, well, I was never going to win against that. I mean, and there was a lot of controversy after the fact, I suppose, that some gardens weren't looked at as favourable light as they could have been. So I went to a little old lady in another suburb that was obviously spent every second in her garden. But anyway, that's a long story, so I better not go there, otherwise I get upset. Yeah, so I felt quite chuffed that, it was mentioned, and I don't use it as a selling point to other people, but when I go into somebody's yard and I see that they're keen and there's so many ideas presented just to make a place look more respectable with sometimes little effort. So, as I said, I'm not a landscaper where I can bring in heavy machinery and make big changes, but you can do a little bit in the garden and make a huge difference. And probably my days, you've got me on a roll now, probably my days is banking. It was the same bit of paper coming back every morning, and you get rid of it at the end of the day and you're back there in the morning. This kind of job is different every day. And it's instant kind of gratification for yourself and for the client, when the lawn's mowed nicely. Yeah, it's lovely to be thanked. I do get thanked often for the job I do. Yeah.
You get multiple, depending on how many jobs you do every day, you get that job satisfaction from start to finish, whereas a lot of other jobs, you don't get that satisfaction at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, in your garden at home, maybe, John, what plants do you have, or what was your concept with your garden?
There was no real plan in the early days. When I studied horticulture, you end up looking at a lot of plants, and I thought I liked that, so I had to put one of those in the garden. So you made a space for it, depending on where the plant is suited to be. And so, not really, but it's more of a botanical garden. There's a lot of different plants in there. And I do like my exotics. I don't like my natives as much, but I am starting to change a bit. But, climate change and drought tolerant. But a lot of the plants in my garden, whether it's camellias, azaleas, or hydrangeas, or whatever, have come from different parts of the world, not from Australia. And when you do that in a garden and you prune them or hack them or try to grow in different spots, it does give you confidence when you go into somebody else's garden and say, this will grow there. So
You've already got your testing ground at home almost, and you've just tested it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, you might have to send us a photo of your garden, I reckon, or if you've got that photo from back then, you'll have to send it to us. I reckon it'd be great to share a bit of history of that online. With your skills would be awesome to show, to demonstrate to customers. I'd love to use it actually in advertising, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
if you can email, if you're comfortable with that, if you email your photo of that, it'd be awesome to use.
Yeah, okay, give me a couple of days. I'll just mow the lawn. Yeah.
No worries. Now, in your area, what type of plants or what sort of varieties do you recommend to customers, or do you find yourself planting more than others?
Most of them are established gardens, of course, so you try to suit them with their plan. And I think it's whatever suits. Like last weekend, I went out to and looked at 2 nurseries to see what was selling and what was being pushed to people. So you've got to do a little bit of that as well, to see what the popular plants are. And a while ago it used to be agaves. Everybody wanted to have an agave in their lawn, in their gardens, and now they're going a little bit out of favour. And I think we're moving more towards natives and easy care gardens. And a lot of people also wanted to have native gardens because they felt they were very easy care. There's nothing easy care about a native garden. And I try to tell people that if that's out in the bush, it's getting chewed by, possums or whatever every day. And that's why they look good out in the bush. But in your yard, you can't just put them in and forget them. So it's a hard question to answer because I think every garden's a lot different. And the thing that is happening too is gardens have become a lot more special because I live on a quarter acre block, and now a big block it might be 450, 500 square. So a garden has to be a lot more special. And it has to be maybe just one special plant, whether there's a flowering gum or prize camellia when you pass, whatever. But difficult to answer. So I think you've got to be prepared to know a lot, as I said, about your customer or a lot about plants in some ways. But as I said, we're more than lawn mowers. And I think if you want to be successful in this business and enjoy this business, you've got to enjoy the great outdoors.
Yeah, and it gives you a good challenge, right? If you just want to just mow lawns all day, after a while, I'm sure it's going to get tedious. But with what you're saying is you don't know what day's going to bring. You could have a complete garden makeover, or you could be advising to someone what plants to use, or you might do some hedging or whatever it is. So having that variety, it would keep you enjoying the job.
Exactly, and be able to have the chat and to speak to customers, whether it's about current affairs or the garden or what's happening in the local community. You become an all rounder, and I have seen that change myself. Everybody seems to be very specialised in their own jobs and lives at the moment, and so you've got to have a kind of real rounded knowledge. I'm a big listener of the ABC on the radio in between jobs, so you find out what people are talking about.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. I was speaking to a guy yesterday who's been with us for 14 years, and he's had customers for 14 years from he started, and he said it's more about the chat almost sometimes than it is about the actual doing the job for him. So it's more about the relationship, and they consider some of his clients friends, and he knows they're each other's families and all that sort of stuff. And it's more of that holistic service approach, not just obviously providing a great service, but it's more about that other stuff, which is important to people as well.
But yeah, that's very much. And then as I do, I think as he does, because you've got to be able to do that. You're not there to. Well, you are there to sell a service, but you've got to do it discreetly. You've got to make it just a side issue to the rest of what's going on in their life or your life. So yeah, I do agree.
And how's the business, like you've been in for the business for so long, like how have you seen it develop, or how's it been for you overall, like in terms of a career, like how have you found everything?
Yeah, I must have been early days. I was a bit tired, but then again, back then I had 2 young kiddies when I first started. I think my daughter was probably only about 2 years old, 2.5. And of course, it's always struggle street back then. You're trying to feed a family, whatever. And but it's progress. I wouldn't say I'm a multi-millionaire. I wouldn't say I'm a millionaire. Except probably for house prices, but I'm happy where I am. As I said, I'm more of a gardener than a savvy business person. I'm just happy cruising through this. I might have cruised a little bit too much sometimes, but I unfortunately or fortunately I just enjoy what I do.
That's great. But the thing is, you're doing something you like doing, and you can make money whilst doing it, whilst supporting your family, and having a lifestyle where you can, if you need to take them to school and all that sort of stuff, which is a fantastic thing. Not many people get that opportunity, so it's a great thing to hear.
That's right. And I've got some good friends and what I sail with, and we were having a conversation on the other day, and he said that he's just retired, but he said, I used to get home from work about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and I never saw my kids grow up. I said, well, I used to watch cartoons, in the afternoon. But, so, it's that balance, you've got to have that, that life balance, as people keep telling us. So.
Yeah, it's a big trade-off, when we do these interviews, it's the same thing. We get those people who have that situation where they're not getting home to 8 or 7:30 at night and they're sick of it, and then they make the change from getting out from behind the desk to what you're doing, and then within the year you just see their mental health and they're just smiling and they're a lot happier, and they don't, the money, even though the money is good for them, it's not the main thing, it's the family stuff, and it's the being appreciated, I guess, is more of the word as well.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Now, how's your support and stuff been over the years? I don't know how you practice call code now monthly. Like, I don't know what advice they could provide you, but how's the support been over the years and stuff? Is it?
Very much in the later years. Since Paul King took over up here a few years back now. Unfortunately, I've been old enough to see a lot of changes, and in the early days, it was not good, but the business has developed a hell of a lot since then. So let's say in the last, Paul, I think how long you've been on there now, let's say the last 10 plus years, his technical support and keeping up with us has been brilliant. Yeah, I can't fault him. He's always been there, and he asks me different questions about what I think I should be doing, or what a group, what input I can give to the group. So we have some good chats, and I think the way it's been run, I've never seen the setup down in Melbourne, but I think the way it's been run down there, I can't fault it. It's a huge business to now, what it used to be. I used to go to, our local meeting was the outskirts of Sydney, so it used to be 2 hours travel to get there in an evening. Oh. Things have changed a hell of a lot, and I think technology has been a big boost there as well. As I said, just my first Zoom meeting, so it took me a little while to work out what I was going to do, but I'm here now.
Yeah, no, look, but if you ever come to Melbourne, please come to head office to meet Jim. If you ever come to Melbourne, please come to meet Jim, and we'd love to do give you some things as well. I can get you some things. I'd love to get Jim to talk to you and stuff, and I reckon it'd be great just to have someone who's number 3 or 2 on our system. Or it's an amazing achievement. So it'd be awesome. If you're ever down in Melbourne, please come, and you'll be able to stay at the complex for free and stuff and all that sort of stuff. So if you ever want to come down, please let us know and we can arrange it for you.
Thanks for the invitation. Thank you.
And so just let's talk about your equipment then. So over the years, you would have gone through many equipment. All the mowing guys love hearing about what other people use. So what equipment do you use in your business, or what do you recommend?
Well, if we're going to go down nitty gritties, I'm still one of the old school. I like my Honda brush cutters because I've got more control over the speed and of how many windows I'm going to break. And we're now using the Toro mowers up here. I think they're okay, but I've still got Honda mowers as well, all self-propelled.
That's the Honda HRU, the big thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a brilliant mower. A bit slower than the Toro, but I think it does a better cut than the Toro. So sometimes you've got to slow down speed on the Toro to make it same cut. So it's horses for courses. I am just now moving over to electric gear as far as hedge trimmers and small electric saws and electric chainsaw. I've just bought some kind of combination setup. So I'm just moving there. I don't think the reliability of some of the machinery is as good as it gets. I mean, there's very little. There's more commercial range available now, but none of it's just still domestic equipment we're using and adapting it for commercial use. But a good pair of secateurs, you've got to have a good pair of secateurs and keep them sharp. So maintenance and changing oil on your machinery, you've just got to do that regularly. You can't let go, otherwise you're wasting money. Yeah, I'll try anything, but my equipment, I think the very, very first time I went out, I was using a Honda gear, and I probably haven't moved too far from that. Probably building a rapport with your mower shops too does help. So technical advice and quick fixes. So you've got to go in there and have a chat with them as well.
Absolutely. No, the Honda's very popular for a reason. It's great quality stuff. And one question before I'll let you go and get on with your day is, what advice would you have for someone, from your experience looking to get into the Jim's Mowing or into the business in general? What advice would you have for them?
If they're thinking about it, well, they've obviously thought about it a bit, but already, but they've got to go out and they've got to give it a go. They've got to realise that the business is, to an extent, what they make it. So they've got to be prepared to do the hard work in the early years. Sure, they're buying, even if they're buying a business that's been running, so, they're buying mine, they can still mess it up, in a few months if they didn't go with the right attitude. So you've got to go in pretty open and you're going to be working hard, and it might well be different. If you're coming for an office job, it's going to be, downside different, but you're going to see the rewards, whether it's being fully fitter, becoming an all-rounder. So in my case, a lovely wife does my bookkeeping. So you can make sure you're pretty well set up. I'll be prepared to change the way you work or the times you work, or hopping out of bed a bit earlier than you might have done for the office job. I'll be quite able to give anybody advice, but it depends how they take that advice. They've got to have it in themselves. And I know a lot of people, I cannot tell you who is on the Central Coast at the moment, but from about 4 or 5 people. They can chop and change so much. They might look at me as the old guy there, but so many people just come and go very, very quickly. And, well, they could be just throwing the money out the window. The things you're going to need to do, you're going to set yourselves a ute rather than the family sedan, or you've just got to make some big changes to your lifestyle. And if you've had the right advice, maybe from a franchisor or from other franchisees in the area, that's just so valuable.
Absolutely. So what we'll do is I'll let you get on with your day, but first I just want to say, thank you on behalf of the Jim's Group. I know it's not a gold watch, but it's a silver Accord membership. And it's a couple of free nights to any hotel. There's a lot of discounts and stuff for the restaurants. I'm sure there's a lot of nice areas you can use that service on behalf of us. And yeah, thank you for being a part of the brand for so long. It's great. It's going to be great to share your story online, and I'd love to share the photo of your garden as well. So it'd be great if you got that photo. We can share and use it for some advertising to promote the gardening services. And really, really fantastic. I'm happy to have met you. And if you ever want to come down to Melbourne, we will pay for you to stay at the complex. If you want to come during a training week, we'd love you to talk to the people there as well and stuff. So the offer's always there. If you're ever down our way, please make sure you let us know and we'll pick that up.
Thank you. I'll mention the wife and we'll be down there tomorrow.
You don't want to come now. It's too cold, mate. Stay where you are. Nice. Thank you very much. Thanks, Tony. Nice. See you, mate.
Thank you for listening to the episode of the More Than Just Mowing podcast by Jim's Mowing. If you do need help with your local gardening expert, please give us a call on 131 546 for Australia, 0800 454 654 for New Zealand, or head to jimsmowing.com.au or jimsmowing.co.nz. If you liked what you heard, please make sure you leave us a review as well, wherever you consume your podcast. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.